The most violent medieval inventions you'll never believe existed. In 1459, a strange military book was written that still puzzles historians to this day.
Its time-worn leather cover bears one simple inscription: Talhofer.
Hans Talhofer was a German weapon master famous for his expertise in the art of combat. His book contains bizarre designs from early medieval war machines, advanced weaponry, and combat technique unlike anything else seen in medieval Europe. Here's a countdown to the most brutal, strange, and surprising entries in Talhofer's mysterious manuscript. Number 1. Talhofer's Tank. One of the most shocking inventions found in the manuscript is history's first ever tank design. Bizarre-looking contraption, Talhofer's Tank would have been capable of inflicting massive casualties on any medieval battlefield. The image in Talhofer's book is hard to understand on paper, but the devastating nature of the device can be seen in 3 dimensions.
Driven by a team of horses and mounted with cannons, such a war machine seems improbable in medieval times.
The machine would have been pushed into enemy troops and fired, causing massive damage.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cannon on each side. This is 1459, but gunpowder has been around a while.
The tank design appeared in the book almost 500 years before the British Army famously used the first well-known tanks in World War I. As well as the severe physical damage, the mental effect that this terrifying machine would have had on enemy forces would have made it especially useful on a medieval battlefield. Number 2. The Crayfish. In the book, another of Talhofer's strange weapons is included that he called the Crayfish. The strange-looking weapon could be pulled back and forth on ropes to defend fortified positions. In a medieval castle or town, one of the most vulnerable spots were the gates. The Crayfish was the perfect defensive system when positioned outside.
The ropes that made it go to and fro were embedded in channels in the flagstone floor.
As attackers piled in towards the castle gates, the Crayfish could be pulled and pushed by the defenders, ripping apart anyone who got in their way.
If there were 4, 5, 6 of these going like this, who would ride a horse through that? Who would dare to run through that?
The sharpened iron blades and spikes were not the only deadly part of the Crayfish.
What is more, the text tells us it has explosive devices in it that would send out a hail of shot.
Probably would have been full with metal fragments, something that's going to cause debris to fly in all sorts of directions. You really want to do some damage.
Archaeologists have worked alongside animators to illustrate just how deadly and terrifying this invention would have been.
You can now visualize in computer graphics what such a device may have looked like in action, defending a stronghold.
Number 3. The Spiked Shield. Some of Talhofer's images also redefine how many historians see the shield. Instead of simply a defensive tool, Talhofer's designs could be used to attack and kill an opponent in battle.
This huge spiked shield, or pavis, from Talhofer's manuscript, is believed to have its origins in the 12th century, where shields were regarded as an acceptable weapon in dueling for the common, non-noble classes.
Talhofer's manuscript shows just how deadly these shields could be in close combat, with their cruel spikes and hooks capable of causing catastrophic damage on the opponent. The shield could also be plunged into the ground to create a sturdier base to block enemy attacks.
This is a vicious, ugly type of fighting.
No swords were required to kill an enemy when fighting with one of these shields, as a blow from one of these deadly spikes was enough to cause horrific damage. Number 4. The Talhofer Longsword. One of the simplest yet deadliest designs included in the manuscript is the Talhofer Longsword, a unique and pragmatically designed sword that could be used to fight off heavily armored opponents.
A single plate in the fight book reveals a long sword technique against a knight, almost forgotten by the modern world.
If an unarmored fighter was forced to take on an armored opponent, they could use both ends of the sword. The entire blade wasn't sharpened, meaning that you could grip both ends.
The interesting features about this sword are that not just the blade is able to be used defensively, the guard and the pommel are both pointed, and if you wanted to, you could use those as an active part of the weapon.
It is clear just how deadly the sword's design was when you see it for real.
It's combining an awful lot of things. It's got devastating cutting power and fine balance.
With this dynamic sword design, the sword could be used in a variety of inventive ways to defeat an opponent.
With a sharp, historically accurate, robust blade designed for fighting armor, you're simply not going to get through to wound him with an edge blow. It doesn't matter how hard I hit him or where I hit him. I can't cut through the armor.
Number 5. The Talhofer Dive Suit. Miraculously, the strange book also included a type of diving gear more than 500 years old, possibly the oldest known diving technology in the world.
Its purpose, like many in the book, is shrouded in mystery.
Historical experts have been puzzled by the early technology. What military use could this invention have? Could it have been used for infiltrating a fort, planting underwater explosives, or perhaps spying on enemies? Getting air down to the diver probably required several men working hard, so whatever the purpose of this suit was, must have been important.
Really get pumping, he's underwater now. You can see the bubbles, it's working.
It was hundreds of years later that modern scuba gear was invented. The Talhofer's early suit stands as an important first step towards underwater combat. Thanks for watching History 101. If you enjoyed this video, please don't forget to subscribe.